guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to continue on with our series creating a Power App for Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations. And what we're going to focus on this week are the create, update, and delete functions. So if you remember in the past, in the first episode, what we did was we created the common data service entity that we're going to hold the data. And in the second video, what we did is we created the base app that's going to display the data. And then in this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at how we can add, delete, and update records in our app. Okay, so that's what we're going to focus on today. All right, so before I get started here, let's go over to the screen and we'll go ahead and edit, go in and make.powerapps.com, and we'll go ahead and edit our app. And there are a couple of things that I did that I didn't show on the video that are just general good practices. So let's go ahead and let this thing load. All right, for general good practice, what I did was I went ahead and labeled, changed the names of these fields over here on the left to make them meaningful. Instead of saying label 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and now if I click on the longitude, it actually matches up with the longitude label, for example. This gallery control here, I've named it the main screen gallery. So just kind of did some cleanup of the variables and things here. Just didn't want to bore you with that, but wanted to kind of show you that I did clean that up. That's generally best practice to go ahead and clean those up and make sure they're named what they are. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do to our form today is we're going to go and add some icons that is going to control our add, update, and delete. So let's go over the icons here under the insert menu, and we'll do an add, and let's go ahead and slide that over. And I want to change this to white so it stands out and matches our other labels up here. So we did a plus icon, and let's go ahead and do a edit icon. So go ahead and put that one right there. Again, I'm going to change that to white. And then let's go ahead and insert a delete icon here. So a trash can we'll use for that. We'll slide that over and line that up. And then we're going to go ahead and make that white. Okay. So the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to create a form that we're going to use when we're editing or adding a record, right? So we need a form to be able to enter that data. We're going to do that now. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is I'm going to go ahead and collapse the screen one here for a few minutes. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in a new blank screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this one. So I'm just going to rename this one. See, add tracking is what we'll call it. And we're going to go ahead and put our standard little rectangle at the top so we can label our screen. We'll call this one add tracking. So we need a label up here. I'm going to change the label text to add, and I'm going to call it add edit tracking. And that we'll just name that like so. And I'm going to go ahead and make the font size 24, and I'm going to make that white to also match the rest of our app. And we need to expand this out a little bit here so that you can see the whole thing. The other thing I'm going to go ahead and do while we're here is I'm going to go ahead and insert a home icon here. And so let's go back down. Let's just find an icon that's a home. And I'm going to add this over here to the side so we can use that to navigate back to our main screen when we're on this screen. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to add a action here when we do an on select. So I want to navigate to our screen 1. So I'm going to select screen 1. And so all that little command is going to do for us is when we click on we select the home icon, it's going to go ahead and navigate back to our screen 1. Okay. Okay, so the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to add a form to our screen that's going to allow us to enter the data. Okay, so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to forms, and we're going to go click on an edit form, and let's just position this form here. We'll put it right here, expand it out some. Slide that down. We need to connect it to some data. So the data source we're going to use is a purchase order trackings. That's our entity that we created. And then it's going to kind of create our form for us. Now, instead of 3 columns, notice it's put this out into 3 different columns. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change that down to 1. And I want to rename this to something else more meaningful instead of just saying form 2. I'm just going to call this add form. Okay. And I don't really need this created on. So I'm going to remove that field from the form there. So that gives us our PO number, our message, our transportation status, our lat, and our long here. So it gives us a form there to fill out. And so what we want to do on this is when this form loads, what I want is underneath the, oh, I got the wrong thing there. Underneath the item, I want it to be where the gallery, our main screen gallery screen is the selected record. I want that to show. This is in case if the record, if there's a, when we're doing an edit, I want the whatever record we have selected in the gallery to show here. I'm going to show you how we're going to flip it back and forth between an edit mode and a new mode. But for now, what I'm going to do is in this item, I'm just going to put the gallery screen and whatever record is selected, and notice that's going to populate here in the actual screen. Okay. Now the next thing what we need to do is we need to add a button here. So I'm going to go into the button. I'm just going to add a button, and we're going to drag that down here. And then we're just going to call this save. We can call it whatever we want. And then on this one, on the on select, what I'm going to do is there's a command that we're going to call submit form. Select that right there. And the form that we're going to use is our add form. And I think it was just right there. Let me back out just right there. Select it right from there. And we'll close that. So whenever we hit the save button, it's going to submit this add form and the data that's there. Okay? Alrighty then. So the next thing what we're going to do is on the main grid, what I want to do is I want to highlight whatever record is selected in our gallery view there. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to navigate back to our screen 1, and I'm going to highlight our gallery, and down here, I'm going to go ahead and give us more options here. And in the template fill, it's got a RGBA000. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another little if statement in here. I've got this, and we'll copy it and paste it in here, and I'll explain what this does. So basically, what it's doing is if this item is selected, if there's an item selected, it's going to color it light blue. Otherwise, it's going to be white. So immediately when I'm putting this in here, you'll see that now I have a record that's selected as light blue and a record that's not selected that is white here. So if I hit my Alt key, the Alt key allows me to interact with the app right inside the screen. So if I hit my Alt key, now I can select whichever record I want there. Okay, so that kind of indicates to the user which record is going to be selected. Okay. All right, so let's talk about this form that we just created here a second ago, which is this one right here. And there's 2 different modes that you can put this form into. There's a new mode or there's an edit mode. Now, edit mode is going to fill in the data, and you're going to be able to edit the data that's in the screen. And then a new form creates a blank form for us. Okay. So there's a couple ways of handling this. We can either create 2 different forms and put one in edit mode and one in new mode and navigate to those forms independently, or the way I'm going to use it, I'm going to set up a global variable that's going to determine if I'm doing an add or an edit. Okay, so stick with me here for just a second. So if I go back to my screen 1 here, and I go ahead and click on my edit icon, and I've got an on select statement I'm going to go ahead and put up there. Let me go ahead and put this in here for us. So on select, what we want to do, instead of it being false, we're going to put this in there. So we're going to do 2 things here. We're going to set this variable. This is a variable I'm declaring, which is VAR stands for variable, for mode. And it's going to set this variable to edit. When I click on the edit button, it's going to set that variable to edit. And then it's going to navigate to our add form screen. Okay. Now we're going to do something similar on the add side. So let's go ahead and I'll copy my little statement here and put it on the on select. So on the add side, it's all going to be basically do the same thing. It's going to go navigate to that same add form screen. So let's see here. I've got add tracking screen, and it's going to go, the edit mode is going to be new, right? So it's just depending on whether or not I click the plus here, it's either going to do it's going to either set the variable to new or a variable to edit. Okay, so if I come here to edit, they're one or the other. Okay, and I just noticed a boo-boo I made here. So let me, instead of add form, I want to do on the edit, I want to do the same, which is the add tracking there. So maybe a little boo-boo there. All right, fix that. All right, so let's go and look at our form next. So if I come over to our form, actually, before I go there, apologies. The last one I want to do is I want to go ahead and fix up our delete button. On the delete, it's a fairly simple command as well. So we're going to do remove purchase order trackings. That's the table that we're going to specify. And then we're going to put in the gallery main screen dot whatever row is selected. Like that, okay? So what that's going to do is it's going to remove a record from the PO purchase order trackings, whatever record is selected in the gallery main here, okay? So that'll take care of our delete button. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to go to our form. So let's go down to our add form. And we're going to put a little piece of code in here. So, and actually, sorry, it's not the form, but on the actual screen that we had on our add tracking screen. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take the onVisible, and then depending on what that variable, that edit mode is on the form, whether or not it's edit or not, we're going to set the form into two different modes, okay? So if it's set to edit, this is an if statement. So if this statement is true, if the variable equals edit, what it's going to do is it's going to put this into an edit form mode, that add form, okay? Otherwise, if it's anything other than edit, so in this case, we've only got edit or new. So that's the only two states that the variable's in. So if it's anything other than edit, we're going to treat it as a new form, okay? So that's going to, when this form launches here, or when the screen launches, it's going to determine what mode to put this form into based on our variable, okay? So one other thing that we want to do is once we have submitted our record, we want to tell the user if that record submission was successful, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to add one more screen here, and there's already a predefined success screen. And I'm going to rename this one success for us. There we go. And I want to kind of make it look like our other screen. So I'm going to add our normal rectangle up here up top. And we'll throw a label on there. And we're just going to call this success. We're going to go to properties and go to the text and call it success. And I'm going to make that font size 24. And we're going to make that white like the rest of our labels. And then the other thing I want to do here is I want to go in and add an icon to it. So I'm going to click on the icons. And when I give the success screen here to the user, I want to give them a way to navigate back to the main menu. So I'm going to add that navigate home button there. And what we want to do is change the on select property for that to navigate back to screen one there for us, okay? So that gives us a success screen. Now the other thing that we want to do here is on our add tracking, if we go to our add form, on success, what we want to do is we're going to navigate to our success screen, and then screen transition, we'll just fade into that. Okay, now notice you do have a failure or on reset. You can send them to other places or do other do other commands based on whether or not it's being reset or if it's failed. Really, ideally, you'd want to create a failure screen as well. I'm not going to do that just to save time, but ideally, you'd also want to create a failure as well. All right. So one last little thing that we want to do here is basically when I have this app embedded inside Dynamics, when I click new to create a new record, what I want to do is I want to default the purchase order number into the PO number field when I'm adding a record. Okay, so to do that, what I want to do is I've got one other little if statement here that we'll paste in here, and so what I want to do is find the PO number. So we're going to click on and get the PO number field highlighted here. We're going to unlock it, and we're going to select it. And once we get what we're going to do is we're going to put it in this if statement in the purchase order number field. And let me go ahead and show you that now. So I'm going to take out this parent.default, and I'll paste that in there, and let me explain to you what this if statement does. So if this var edit mode is new, so basically if I'm adding a new screen and the FinOps input variable is not blank. So remember that FinOps input variable is where finance and operations is going to pass in a PO number to us. So basically what we're saying is if the form is new and that variable isn't blank, we want to set the PO number into this field. Whatever that FinOps variable is, we're going to put that in the PO number field. Okay. If we don't have either one of those true, it's going to leave the PO number blank. Okay. So we have that there, and that should get us going. And that should pretty much get us set up. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save this for us. And we'll go ahead and let that save. And then we're going to go ahead and publish that. We'll publish that version. All right, so everything's saved and published. Now what I'll do is I'm going to go over to Finance and Operations here. I'm going to hit refresh here. And I have seen this before when I've made changes to the Power Apps. I've had to refresh it a couple times to get it to actually show. But let's see what happens here when we go to Finance and Operations now. So we're going to go back to our procurement and sourcing screen, and we're going to go to purchase orders. Let's go ahead and pull up our same PO20 that we've been working with. We're going to go to that header. And let's see if it pops up right. Okay, so there we have our icon. So let's go ahead and try these out here. So let's try the plus one first, the create. And so notice now when we hit the plus button, we get the PO20 in there. So that's already in there. Let's see, this shipment has left port. Transportation status, let's put it on the water. Latin longitude, we'll just make up a Latin long like that. And then we'll hit the save button. And so it tells us that it was successfully completed. I can hit my home button and go back. And now I have another item there. Okay. So notice I need to lengthen out my shipping status, but we can do that later. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's see if we can edit that record. So once we do select the record, notice it highlights it. Let's hit the edit button here. And we've got some kind of issue there. So let's see if we can figure that one out. And I think I know what it did on that one, so let me go back here home. So when we have the edit, let's go back here and see if we can figure that out real quick. Okay, so I'm back on my my Power App here, and probably some of you saw this when I was doing it. But so basically here, what I've got on my icon here. So in this one, I'm setting a variable called edit mode, and in here on my edit, I'm clicking one that's got a form mode here. So I need to change this and make sure that I'm using the same one. So let's go edit mode right there, and we can test that now just by hitting the Alt key and then hitting the edit button, and then it launches in. Okay, so I think that fixes our issue there. So let's go ahead and save that and republish it. All right, so that published. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go back to Finance and Operations. Just going to refresh this. Make sure I can get that change. All right, go into purchase order 20 again. Go in the header. Select the record, hit edit. And there we go. So now we've got the record where we can edit it. And so let's just add some some decimals to the Latin longe. There we go. And we should see that edit. That's successfully updated. And now we have our changes here. All right, so if we wanted to get rid of that record, let's highlight it. Let's see if our delete works. We'll go ahead and hit the delete. And there we go. That removes the record there. Okay, so I like to show you these things, works and all. When it doesn't work, show you how we can fix them and how we can make changes. So hope you found some value in that. So if you haven't done this before, added these create, edit, delete operations, hopefully you found this helpful and would be able to use these. Okay, so we'll cut this one off here for today. We'll pick up next week and we'll continue on developing and building this app out. So again, I hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a like if you did. Give it a thumbs up, and feel free to subscribe to the channel as I publish more of these videos out so you don't miss any. Okay, all right, until next time, thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.